oftentimes when we talk about bullying, we think about in our childhood, I was bullied as a child. We think about things happening in the schoolyard, but bullying is very sneaky because it's very pervasive also, isn't it? What comes to mind when we talk about bullying for you, Deb?
I do go back to school. I do go back to being egged, and I say egged meaning they used to throw eggs at me.
Yes.
Let's just put eggs in a here, which is apparently a great. And of course, my little ego was like, fine, won't affect me. It's good for my hair. I've already looked at it. This is good for my hair. Little smart Alex, Deborah, I would just say. I know you will find that very surprising. Um, I go back to school. I definitely was bullied at school, but even the word is such a heavy word.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome, dear Deb.
Hi.
Hello, my dear. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset conversations, podcast conversations. Today, we have an interesting conversation today. And actually, listeners, we've been talking a fair bit about the topic today and then thought, oh, we should actually hit record instead of talking about all these
Yeah, we went
ideas.
on a whole tangent and then went, oh, whoops,
Oops,
hang on.
oops, that should be part of our conversation. We're going to talk about techniques to navigate bullying. Kind of a heavy one, but I really trust that we're going to find some beautiful nuggets to help people navigate choices and ways of being in this discombobulated world that we live in at the moment.
Mm.
But before we get into that, we like to just feel into landing into this moment and space. I call this heart coherence. It's just basically allowing us all to connect from a compassionate, unconditionally loving heart space, which that is a technique to navigate bullying in of itself, right there.
Right there, right there. Yeah.
But wherever you are, whether you're sitting or standing, I invite you to just put your hands over your heart space, maybe one hand over your heart space and one hand on your belly. And just take a really nice, deep, nurturing breath in. And then slowly exhale it through your mouth, allowing that deep breath to help you soften and release any tightness or tension. Allowing yourself to feel grounded and present. Take another nice deep breath. Anchoring yourself to this, whatever your felt sense is of connecting to the universe, connecting to source, connecting to your higher self, to soul, feeling your connection to Mother Earth, feeling your connection to the universe. Nice deep breath. And then what I invite you to do is to pretend, visualize that you're breathing in and out of your heart space. And that every time you breathe out of your heart space, send a beam, a stream, a ribbon of whatever color light out to connect you to the other beings listening to this podcast, to the other beings who are sharing this loving energy. And as you do this, just envisage a matrix or a blanket of connection encircling this planet and beyond, wrapping you in this beautiful unconditionally loving energy. And breathe that in and keep that with you. That actually is available to you wherever and whenever you are. All you need to do to recreate it is to pause for a moment, put one hand or both hands over your heart, and call it in. One of the most powerful ways to remind yourself that you are always seen and acknowledged and held in this love. That's your essence and your right. So breathing that in. And now we're going to gently and softly go into our discussion about techniques to navigate bullying. So our intention with these conversations is always to, well, there will be lots of sharing and stories, I'm sure, but we encourage you to grab a note-taking device so that you can make notes of the tips and ideas that resonate with you. So, like we were saying before we hit record here, we were talking about bullying, that oftentimes when we talk about bullying, we think about in our childhood. I was bullied as a child. We think about things happening in the schoolyard, but bullying is very sneaky because it's very pervasive also, isn't it? What comes to mind when we talk about bullying for you, Deb?
I do go back to school. I do go back to being egged, and I say egged meaning they used to throw eggs at me.
Yes.
Let's just put eggs in a here, which is apparently a great. And of course, my little ego was like, fine, won't affect me. It's good for my hair. I've already looked at it. This is good for my hair. Little smart Alex, Deborah, I would just say. I know you will find that very surprising. I go back to school. I definitely was bullied at school, but even the word is such a heavy word.
It is, yeah.
That bully, as soon as somebody says bully, we all have a story attached to us, whether we've seen it or heard it.
Or
It's someone
experienced it.
yeah, definitely. And I think about this, oh, you're not good enough for this job, we're going to give it to someone else, even though you've been doing the job for a year temporarily, plus your other job, and then they say you're not up to the skill set. Well, all of those little things. But I just pulled out the 4 agreements because I mean my tip number 1 is literally what Moira just said was the heart coherent. That is a beautiful way. Although if you're getting punched in the stomach, or like that's a physical bully, that's a like this that if you're going to try and pull out your heart coherent, you might also just want to jump back and fight a little bit before you get into your heart coherent.
Leave that space. Leave that space.
Yeah, let's get that back. But I love that Moira said about that navigating bullying. You're always seen and acknowledged. And it's reminding you that you're not invisible. You are there. You may think people don't see, but they do see what's going on. So don't think that. But then I started going, okay, here's the 4 agreements right away.
Definitely.
Right away. And usually these come out about halfway through the podcast, people, but this is right away. I look at this and I go, don't take anything personally. Now, yes, if something's happening to you and you don't get that job, the same job you've been applying for, and they give people who are lower than you or any of those things, that's a level of bullying. That's definitely a level of bullying. But you don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know. You might remind them of somebody. You don't know. They may have an agreement with somebody. Like you don't know. Like you don't know.
But also there could be something bigger and better around the corner for you. And
Just
that
always
one
the way,
was,
isn't it?
yeah.
But at the time we want to see that.
I know.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason for it, but you'll never find the reason. And even when you find it later down the track, you might go, but it might not, there might be another reason there as well. But don't take anything personally. I think it's a real valid one.
Very much so. And don't make assumptions that just because somebody that's not as qualified as you got it doesn't mean that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Or, right?
That's it. That right now, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means there's something going on behind the scenes that you're not privy to know right now. If you are always doing your best, always do your best. And when, your best today, if you've eaten, we used to start our podcast with our PEMS, our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And when they're in flow, they're in flow. But when they're out, um, wobbles happen.
But you know,
Wobbles happen. Because if you haven't had a good sleep and someone says something to you, you react differently,
right,
don't you?
yeah,
And I think that, but if you can go to bed at night and always know, I did my best today. I did my best, instantly. And then the last one is be impeccable with your word,
yes.
which
So
goes,
that's
which,
that's that's the word of how you think about yourself and talk about yourself and to yourself. But I think that we need to put the PEMS check in as a separate tip
yeah,
because that's actually a beautiful way to to stand grounded and firmly and be resilient in the face of bullying. Because
yeah,
right at the very beginning of our conversation, we talked about bullying. We both kind of think about the schoolyard and childhood, but bullying happens all over the place. I can think of times of being bullied even now. Recent times, I can think of times of people trying to bully me. However, when we really look after those four pillars of our well-being, so this is your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, and your spiritual well-being, you are much more capable to say, that's not, you're welcome to your opinion, but I'm not taking in your agenda or walking to the beat of your drum. We
yeah.
can do that more capably and more confidently when we're looking after ourselves, right? That's the bringing in that sacred self-care ideas that we've talked about before too. But it comes in by you assessing and knowing what is it you need to fill your cup and really look after yourself in that way, right?
Yeah, and knowing that knowing that everything's movable,
Yeah,
because people say you get hangry, which means you get angry if you're not eating.
yeah,
And the truth is sometimes there are days that you are hangry and so you deal with your situations differently.
yep. Yeah,
And
and so give yourself permission to be that way, right?
reminding yourself, I had a call yesterday with one of my clients who's also a coach, and they're going through some stuff, and they said, um, why can't I get this? Why can't I figure this out? It's
Mm.
because you're literally, and the other thing is, you're literally standing in the eye of that storm. You're not standing in the eye of the storm. You can't see clarity. You're part of that amongst. So that goes back to that. Don't take anything personally. If you can't figure it out right now, it's okay. It's going to come. Well, I guess that's the other one. Trust.
Trust.
Do we
I
bring
was just going to say that.
that one in now? By the way, people, there's been a few tips, so we'll just throw them out there. And
Mm.
if we don't significantly say bullet point this, just bullet point what one you think if we happen to throw three into the one particular one.
Yes.
I can feel that already. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but trust is very important.
Yes, trusting you and trusting the situation and the things that's going on. You know what you were saying? I've often, of late, I've been having this conversation with multiple people who I am teaching the concepts of the sacred self-care and like really getting in touch with your own needs and putting them as priority number one. And
Yeah.
so many times of late, I've been having conversations with people saying, oh gosh, why is it taking me so long to work this out? I'm in my 50s or 60s. That's the kind of, I'm in my
Whoops.
50s or my 60s and I've never learned this. And then they get beating themselves up. Like, why is it taking so long? It's like, who cares how long it took you? You're here. You're listening to it. So
Yeah, you
that's you trust. It lands, it
trust.
resonates at the right time for you. So it's like, do not be a bully to yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
even yeah, do not be. Well, that's the next one I was going to bring in was actually what are you saying to yourself? So
yeah,
we've had
self-talk.
that self-talk, and
Ah,
we know the one that we say something and the best way to get yourself out, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I've done this again. Cancel, cancel, cancel is what you're
yep,
going to say,
yep.
and it's a fun way of wiping it. Now, it doesn't wipe it out, but it wipes it out temporarily in your brain to think of something, and you're replacing it with a fun thing. Now, cancel, cancel, cancel. That is probably actually the second time I've ever said it without laughing.
It is.
It is probably because I go, cancel, 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 and I can't say it. So it instantly makes me laugh. So when I say, oh, crikey, didn't you learn before? And I can hear it. And often I don't even get to the end of the sentence. Oh, crikey, didn't you? And my head goes, learn before. And I go, cancel, cancel, cancel. And I can't get the words out. And it breaks that pattern of me. So be conscious of the words you say to others, but also what you say to yourself, whether it's an external or an internal thought,
Yeah.
because you are heard 100%. So cancel, cancel, cancel just balances that wobble out.
And by
for
the
me.
way, it does really sit. It
It does.
completely it does. Like it's because we are all powerfully creator beings. So what we say goes.
Yeah.
And so when we say cancel, 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 it's like, okay, I've just wiped the slate clean. Done.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah. But I encourage you to do it and see if you can do it with a straight face, because I blooming can't. Moira will be like, I can. Of course she can. But someone like
Well, I
me.
always grin. I'll always have a grin. But you know, the other piece around that self-talk piece, if it resonates with you to say cancel, 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 great. Use that. But another way that you could bring in, and maybe this is a tip all by itself, is gratitude. So to have gratitude. So you know how in our self-talk can be, oh, you screwed it up again, like, you idiot, are you ever going to say thank you? Thank you. Because that's actually only a component of you. It's a past pattern. It's something that your inner critic is kind of coming up and saying, oh, but you see, its program is to look after you, to make you look good. Doesn't want you to look stupid or a failure or things of that nature, which is not necessarily true. So if you can say, thank you, I get that you're trying to keep me safe or keep me looking good in the eyes of other people, but I'm good. I'm okay right now. That's another way of clearing that out and not allowing your inner critic to be the bully, right?
And gratitude is one of the quickest things. Well, actually, the quickest thing to calm my farm instantly when something happens is hand on heart for me personally. But gratitude, just thinking, what am I grateful for right now? Now you may be in this spot, but there's different levels of that gratitude. Of who am I talking to right now? You're either talking to somebody or you're talking to yourself, or you're strategizing things. You can't have something that has a wobble without it having a solution. You can't have a problem without a solution.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with every problem, whatever's happening, if you're being bullied or you're the bullier, there's always a solution in there. So I guess that's the other thing with this is we also do things that others may perceive that we bully, and that's where you can't take things personally. I had someone recently say to me, Deborah, you bullied me by doing this, and I literally was like, in fact, I must admit I did laugh. I was like, what? And then I looked, then my ego got in check, and then I looked and went, actually, you're right. It can be seen as bullying. 100% was not my intention.
Right.
Now, when we talked about it and unpacked it, because I had the opportunity to do that, their PEMS was definitely out. They were already on it. And they had stuff that they knew they had to do and and we got to this event and I did something and then they were like, oh, she was mean to me because
easy to get triggered, basically.
So being aware of that, but also look at yourself, look at your actions, and when you serve from, here we go, the head and the heart, may you speak with one voice when you talk with that head and heart. When you're doing that, people don't pick up the bullying. So sometimes it's about us having a check-in with ourselves. Are we going too fast for other people? Are we, without trying to change yourself, and softening things that you want to say, be yourself, but are we actually not pausing to take a moment and speak with our heart? Why aren't you doing this? Instead of, honey, what's going on? Can I help you in any way? I see this hasn't been done. Just the two approaches, and it's all back to us again. It's all back
100%.
to us and our way of speaking and sleeping and
being. Being.
Yeah.
So what I was feeling into as you were saying that is one of the mantras or one of the guiding principles that I've actually always had I can't say I always did it, but it's something that serves me well, is to say that other people's opinions are not my business.
Yeah.
And that is because this is in my own journey of needing to release the propensity to be a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And so therefore I would make decisions, and that's a form of bullying in itself, right? It's like, oh, I've got to look after this person first. I've got to, assess what's their needs, and I've got to take care of that person and look after this and blah, blah, blah. But it's also to think that we are feeling like I'm only worthy to the degree that I look after your needs or follow your rhythm or walk to the beat of your drum, as opposed to just pausing, putting my hands on my heart and saying, have I filled my cup today? Have I looked after me? And so the other thing in all of this, and this is a conversation I often have, is that people will end up judging themselves based upon what they think other people think of themselves. And yet, number one, you don't actually know unless somebody comes up to you and says, this is what I think of you. And so what if they think that of you? Because you know what? Everybody's going to have an opinion of you.
Yeah.
Don't allow the other people's opinion to dictate or direct you. This is such an inside job, right? Yes, we do. We do form tribes and go along with other people's ideas, but it's got to come from you authentically first, right?
You've got to sleep, you've got to sleep at night with the decisions you made throughout the day.
Yes.
No one else they have to sleep with their own decisions.
Yeah.
You have to sleep and go, actually, you know what? Today I had a really crap day because I did this,
Mm-hmm.
and go back to gratitude.
Yes.
Okay, I'm thankful for this. And
Yeah.
that will help you sleep. But if you're, I love that other people's opinions are not my business. There's so much that you hear people and they're like, Deborah, guess what? The story is the latest story about you is. And I'm like, oh, what is it? What is
Do
it? What is
tell.
it?
Do tell.
And I got a new story about me at the weekend. I was like, oh, that's a goodie.
Oh,
No,
really?
not yeah. But I think you can't stop other people's opinions.
No. No.
And I think that's the beautiful thing is you can't stop them. And it's their opinions because of their past stories or their PIMS or whatever, don't take anything personally. And you'll never know why. Can we all just stop asking for the why train?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we just
That's always going to derail you, take you down
There's
a
the-
negative spiral.
It's a tip on its own. Avoid the why. You're never going to get the why. You're never going to get the why because if you ask me, why did you do a podcast? My story today is a different reason to back then. Is also 2 years ago. Like we have a different why. Our whys change and evolve. So don't go, why did they do that? That's
And
a
I
whole.
always like to say, change why into what? What was the learning? What was the wisdom? What's my choice? What do I get to do? Not why is this happening or why did that person say this thing about me?
What do I get to create from this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the what into the why as well. But what I was going to say before the why came out was data collection. When people say you can't do something, get yourself some evidence that you can do it.
Yeah.
Go back and say you can't do this. You're just a girl. Well, I've done it before. Like, or you can't do this because you are a mum. Okay, well, I've done it before. You can't do so just get that evidence that you can actually do things because that just helps you just go, okay, well then it's definitely not me. And it just gives you that backing. Actually, I can do this. I can do this.
Mm.
But if you're in a weak spot, people smell that and they can tap into that. So just get that data collection of where you've done it. Moira's grinning her head off and waiting on what's going to happen. I'll
Well, I'm
pause.
just laughing because if anybody tells me that I can't do something, there's this strong inner
I know, I'm just
bitch
saying,
that kind of says,
I'll
you what?
show
I'll
you."
show you.
And out comes the ogre voice. Oh,
I'll show you. Of course I
you.
can do this.
Yeah, that's the one that gets me into trouble, even at my age still. Yes.
Yes.
But I think the other thing is, we talk about this. You just talked about other people's opinions are not my business.
Mhm.
Who are they to tell you that you can't do that? Who do
Yeah.
they? Who
Yeah.
are they? You're listening to these people. What gives them their higher power of your soul? And that just goes back to other people's opinions and not your business.
Hmm.
Who gives them that authoritative figure? Now I also know we have governments, and I know we have rules, and we have all of those things, and this happens in there as well. So, but you've got to pick and choose. You got to pick and choose your path. You just got to pick and choose. Is this worth the fight? What did Deb say the other day?
Is this a
Happy,
worthy adversary?
yeah, happy wife, happy life. I'm letting this one go. I was like, are you? By the way, she can see your messages, Dad. He said, deleting now. I just had to laugh. By the way, Mum, Dad threw you under the bus the other day.
Whoopsie. But
Yeah,
there's different things here, right? Because I separate. You're talking about governments and rules and
yeah.
things of that nature. I put that separately because collectively we are.
It's not a personal thing,
It's
is it?
not a personal thing. Yeah, I can't take it personally.
But people can see that as they're bullying us, telling us we need to do this.
Well, so here's an example I just had to do just this past week. Is I don't like dealing with the bureaucratic stuff. But I decided, I had to be on hold for 40 minutes to actually get connected to a human being.
Oh my God, already your PIMS is out of
And I
order.
was doing deep breathing because I thought, but when I speak, because sometimes I can get really, really antsy and cranky when having to deal with stuff like this. But this person came on, he introduced himself, he's very, very sweet. And he talked to me the way I was talking to him. Whereas a couple of months ago I had to do something like this and I was very irritated and irate and I didn't want to be doing this. And so I was kind of reminding myself, Moira, the last time it didn't go quite so well and they weren't that helpful. So that's why I said on hold for 40 minutes. And then when he came on, I just flowed with it. And do you know, he stayed on the phone with me for 20 minutes, got me to log into a website and do all these different things. And it was so beautiful how calmly and harmoniously that it went. But a funny part at the very end, he said, well done, Moira. He says, you've got it all figured out now. He said, I'm really, really sorry to tell you this, though. It's going to take 28 days before it's actually settled.
Oh, beautiful.
And I was like, that's okay. That's okay. At least I did it now, so it's all good. But and I made myself laugh, right? Because the irate version of me would have just been like, that would have sent me off the top.
Yes, yeah. And I think there's one of my clients said to me once when I went to rack up, and she just whispered in my ear because she could see me brewing, and she said it's easier to catch people with honey than it is with vinegar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just leaned forward and she went, honey vinegar, and I was like, the fuck? And
Bleep.
bleep, bleep, bleep. And I was, yeah, whoops. And I literally was like, what? And then it took me out of my state. But then she explained that again. And I went, oh, you're right. You're right. And it is just our ego. It is our frustration. But that's the other thing, call centers, they ring you at the most awkward time and want to talk to you. And you're like, come on. They're like, this is the best time to talk. And I'm like, not for me. It's not. Not for me. But it is. It's don't take those things personally. Going back to that again.
Yes, 100%. And the thing, like my story is dealing with government officials. And it's like that person I was speaking to wasn't making the rules. He's following the rules. And that's where I'm saying is that collectively, we're all part of this.
Yeah.
And so for me to take it personally or get angry at this person or the rules or the way it was going, is like it's me that pays the price.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying is that's the example of dealing with bureaucrats or government or officials.
It's
Whereas
not them.
whereas
It's
it's
not.
not them, no. But whereas when you're allowing yourself to be judged or manipulated by somebody else's opinion, and this is not like a government or bureaucrat or anything like that, then that actually shows you about them, not you, right?
Mm.
So if somebody says, well, you dropped the ball there, or you didn't do your best, you feel like, yeah, I did my best, and then somebody comes up and says, well, you didn't do your best. That's on
Yeah.
them, not you,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's just an important piece around, don't allow that to bully you,
I
right?
think, yeah, and from what Moira just said then, you want to be safe.
Mhm.
Like, remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah,
If you're at work and somebody's bullying you at work or something, remove yourself. If you have to
definitely.
if you have to leave the workplace for a moment and message HR and you're sitting in your car or something, HR's human resources, I'm sure that's what you
Yes,
call it.
it is.
Just checking in your side of the world. But those things, but stay safe. And
Yes.
if somebody's verbally going for it, you're not going to match them. You're
Nope.
literally never going to match anyone who's like that. So when I say stay safe, just protect yourself. If you have to leave, now's not a good time. I had a call with a lady last week. I roared with laughter. She hated confrontation. I know, I roared with laughter. She said, you wouldn't believe what happened to me. I had one of the boys at work, and she works in a male-dominated area, and he was going off his nut, off his nut, off his nut. And I kept saying to him, I can't do this right now. I'm busy. This is not my thing. You need to go and talk to that person. She said, I kept calm and calm and calm. Said I matched him. I kept dropping it down. He was angry and he was this, and this. So I offered him some space. I said, would you like to sit down? And he said, yes, please. So he sat down and she just got up and left.
Oh, good for her.
She went, he sat down and then she just got up and left. And he sat there waiting on her to come back. And again, you can imagine me, I'm laughing, and she's like, it wasn't funny, Deborah, but it was. But in the
But
the
good
end,
for
she's,
her. Yeah.
oh no. I said, can you see what happened? And she was like, yeah, like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and just being able to do that. But she took her own power back, but without dismissing his problem or anything.
Or fighting it more.
And it wasn't hers. It wasn't her shite to deal with at
Right.
all. Because I said, was it yours? And she was like, no. And she said, and there's no way I would have talked to him if it was in that state. He's better to go away and have some, I tell them to go away and go outside for a walk around the block and come back if you're going to offload. But I love that she said, would you like to sit down? He stopped, he changed his state. He stopped. He said, yes, I would. And he sat down and she looked at him, and then she just got up and left and didn't say a word.
I really love that because
She was safe. She was fully
yeah.
safe
Yes.
in what he felt, and also it gave him the time and space.
Yep.
And
Which
he just
obviously
thought
he
she was
needed.
coming back. It's the first time it's ever happened to her. Anybody that he was like, oh, she must be coming back, and he sat there waiting on her to come back.
And so
But
he
when
could have really landed in his body and calmed
yeah,
his
he did,
nervous
and he
system.
did.
And yeah.
He found it. He said, okay, and then he started looking at, okay, well, I can get through this. So by the time she did come back, he's like, do you need to say anything? She goes, no, how are you feeling? He's like, I feel better. And she's like, okay. That was it. Like,
And
literally, yeah.
so alongside this tip for you're saying be safe and remove yourself from the situation, one of my favorite questions, and I've referenced this on previous
Oh, that's it.
episodes, is how do I feel about myself here? So that's a perfect example of that. How do I feel about myself here? Well, I feel a little nervous, or I feel attacked, or I feel shouted at or got at. Time to leave. That's all indications from your own internal wisdom saying it's not the best thing. And it doesn't mean, oh, I never can come back into this environment. It's this just I got to do a reset. It allows other people to reset and maybe get some contrast or context. Like in some situations you may need to leave and get somebody who's got your back to help you with something, right? To speak for you.
Well, even yeah. So that's a great tip on an advocate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you go to the doctor
Mhm.
and you're getting results, you're better to take two people because you hear the first word that comes out and then you
Yeah,
hear nothing
nothing
after that.
else. Yeah.
You've shut down all your whole system shut down like, oh my God, I'm going to die from having a blister. You think your head goes crazy. But having that other person who can be your voice, hear things that you may not hear and
Hmm.
see what you may not see. And I'm going to say a great advocate is Moira and Deborah,
Absolutely.
because we are neutral to what happens around us. We're not even our own stuff. We definitely lose our stuff. Don't get me wrong. That we have our wobbles. We are perfect in every way because we have our wobbles and we implement the strategies and the techniques that we give you on these podcasts.
Hmm. Yeah,
We
everything we share here is our lived experience.
yeah,
We do walk our talk.
I can literally tell you all the tips we've given. I can give you an example in the last week of where,
Mm.
or even the last few days of where I've implemented every one.
Mhm.
We live and breathe the work that we walk our talk on.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're a neutrally balanced advocate
And
for your voice.
and we are protective mama bears when it comes to looking out for people who might be getting bullied. Because that's such an important piece that sometimes people need to be, from my perspective, I find that sometimes people need a person, an advocate, to hold space for them, to actually unpack and release some limiting beliefs, or where they may have given their power over to somebody else's opinion.
Shine the light on stuff that they're not seeing.
Yeah, yeah. And so
And
and
that
so so and then once that's all cleared out, then they can step more into resilience and strength and courage and
yeah.
I've got this mentality, right?
Yeah. Which I grin because we're nearly at the end of time to wrap up. But as Moira was just saying that, I wrote down, "You are not alone," and I went
Mm,
straight back to our first tip, which was our heart
heart
coherent. You're
coherence. Yeah.
always seen and acknowledged.
Hmm.
I'm like, right there, right there. You're not alone in any
Nice
of
way
this.
to circle back.
I know, literally, I was just like, well, we're right there. Um, but you're not alone. You are
Yeah.
not alone, and and we are here. We are here. But one of the things Moira often talks about is, when you're doing something, is this good for me? Now I know Moira just talked about the other one, but is this good for me? Is this good for others? And do I want to do it? So when someone's bullying you to do something
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel right,
To
like if
you. Yeah.
you have to say no because all forces are going to come down on you. I don't know what you can say without joking and saying that, but it's got to be good for you. It's got to be good for others, and you've got to want to do it before. And it's a yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, because otherwise it's not. So if they're bullying you to do it, it's it's not your jam.
Yep.
I don't
I
know.
had a
Does that?
conversation with somebody who was being bullied in a corporate setting. And when we went through those questions, it wasn't good for her to do it. It was definitely good for the others because they were all dumping their work on her and she didn't want to. So all of a sudden she just so lit up. It's like, oh, I
I
just
have a
totally gave
choice.
her permission. It's give yourself permission to say, no, it's not working for me. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I have a choice.
Yeah.
I know we were talked about it earlier. Um, I get to choose to do this. I love to do this.
Hmm.
Implement this today. Like it's an invigorating thing.
Yeah,
It's
I
not like,
get to do
ooh,
this.
yeah, like woohoo, I get to do this today instead
Yeah.
of I've got to do this, I hate doing this, and then that's
Yeah.
not going to help anything.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I choose to do this. But the excitement, I get to do this,
Mhm.
but it has to be good for you, good for others.
And that you
Um,
want to.
yeah, and that
Yep.
you want to. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, So, listeners, so listeners, we are going to wrap up our techniques to navigate bullying. So, grab your note taking device if you didn't before, unless you're driving. But
Yep.
I will say before we kick off, bullying is just a word. Bullying
Hmm.
is just a word. It's just a word in the dictionary. You can let it affect you or not, but the techniques we're going to give you are definitely going to help you. But remember, it's just a word in the dictionary. Even knowing that.
Yeah. But also remember, you're the boss of you, and nobody gets to bully you unless you say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Well, here we go. Kicking off. Tip number 1 that we started. Remember I said there was a whole lot that we threw out. The one I'm going to start with is the heart coherent exercise that Moira did. That brings you right back to your heart, and to remind yourself that you're always seen and acknowledged as well. That's a beautiful way that heart coherent is to start your day and end your day with that, and throw it throughout the day when it's needed or required.
If you get discombobulated, go right back to it. It's always there. Yep.
There's tip 1, technique 1.
The next one is we took a deep dive actually into the 4 agreements. The first one being don't take things personally. That fuels so much bullying, right? Is that when you take it personally, it's like, oh, they're yelling at me and they're saying it's my fault and I'm not good enough, and don't take things personally.
And you get on that hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You can never get off that blooming hamster wheel.
Yeah. So this is the 4 agreements are so important to navigate bullying. So don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions. Just because that person got the promotion and you didn't, doesn't mean that they're better than you, or that you're not good enough, or that maybe there's something even bigger, better right around the corner. So
Yeah.
release the propensity to make assumptions. Do your best. Always do your best. And be impeccable with your word. The impeccable with your word is so important to make sure that you're speaking lovingly and kindly to and about yourself, right?
Yeah. I love the 4 agreements are so vital, so vital on many layers, many layers. The next one I had was PEMS. So I think there was a bit missing in there. Oh, it was, I could feel.
Yeah.
And that is your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. If your physical if you've had a poor sleep, you're going to react differently. If you've had an amazing sleep, you're going to react differently. So going back to it's not personal, think of your PEMS, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. There's a reason why things are happening.
Yeah.
There's
Where
a reason
there's a
around.
wobble.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and I'm going to throw this one in here. We talked about the moon cycles. Now, I'm not a moon cycle kind of girl, and any of that.
That's just my vibe.
Yeah, it's Moira's, but and I know for a fact, like be aware of those PEMs as well, but also be aware of those little I say little things, they're not that little, because my crazies, I know when the moon comes out, my clients have another level of craziness that I didn't even know they had, and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? And then I'm like, oh, it must be full moon if I have 2 or 3. And don't worry, clients, I still call you crazy behind your back and to your face. I think I'm doing it hiddenly because I've said it to your face. Most of you, come on, where's this crazy coming from? And that could be seen as bullying. That's okay.
It could be. It could be. Do you know that that's where the word lunatic comes from, right? Luna being the moon.
God, of course.
Yeah.
See?
See?
I've known Moira for so long, and she just throws these golden nuggets out, and I go, oh, how did I never know that? How did I never know that? Lunatic, but be aware of the moon cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware of the moon cycle, your PEMs, woman, be aware of your cycle. There we go. We'll put that one there. All of those things. And that goes back to that you can't take anything personally, back to our 4 agreements again.
But the other part of the PEMs too, and I think I mentioned it when we talked about it, is to do your sacred self-care. And that means looking after yourself on all the 4 pillars. And it could be getting adapted depending on what phase of the moon are we in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crikey, we have to ask Moira about the moons more now. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Well, maybe we need to do an episode on that.
I'll be the silent person. I want to be the silent person.
The next one I have is trust. It's one of our usual ones. trust that you are in the right place at the right time. Trust that if there is some form of bullying happening, that you've got this, that you can actually navigate the situation and take whatever steps, maybe the steps are to remove yourself, or stick your fingers in your ears, or cancel, or ask for help, right? But just trust. If you're in a situation, I believe that if we are in a situation, we have the capacity to deal with it, even if we can't totally get that in that moment, right?
Yeah. I love trust. I love well, I have to trust. Otherwise I'd be
Mhm.
a discombobulated mess. But I definitely trust. Trust is a beautiful one for me.
Yeah,
Um, the next one I've got written down here is the words to yourself.
yeah. We talked about self-talk.
Yeah, that self-talk is incredibly important. And we go into the cancel.
Mhm.
We go into that. But your words that you say to yourself, would you say them to your best friend? Would you say them
Yeah,
to
say
somebody
somebody you
that
cared
lifts them
about.
up?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
just be aware of those. And the cancel is when you say those words and you go, oh, I want to take that back. Too
Yep.
late. Oh no, cancel, whatever it is. But it just allows you to take those words back, and it eliminates it, but eliminates it with balloons. Fun.
Some
Yeah,
levity for
yeah.
sure. And from there, the next tip I put down here was gratitude, because sometimes that's a really nurturing way to rewire or reframe self-talk. If you've got some inner critic that's shaming you or blaming you or guilting you, to say thank you. Because all those dialogues, whether it's negative or positive, they're aspects of you that wants the absolute best for you, the best outcome, the best interactions, right? And so
Yeah.
just saying thank you, using gratitude, I think is a really powerful piece around navigating these times,
And
right?
it's not as hard as what we think. It's not as hard as what it just gives us a pause that there.
Hmm.
One of the beautiful ones Moira said is other people's opinions are not my business.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that seems to be the same one a lot of people get trapped on. So and so said something about me.
Yes. So,
And and what? And the amount of times people say things to me, oh, this is what I heard you did, Deborah. Oh, let me roll up my sleeves. Let me have a what? I did that. Wow. Well, that's pretty impressive. I didn't know I could do that, but I'll take that one. Thank you. Let that rumor continue. Um, and
send it on its way.
send it on its way. Can we just manifest that the rumors that you're saying about me are true? Because some of them are pretty exceptional. I'll take that. I'll like some of those. Thank you. But just knowing that other people's opinions are not my business allows you to stay in your lane and focus on what's true to you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The next one we talked about was, and this is something you and I are both very firm on, is to avoid the why and can you turn it into what? Never to get, if it goes, it's such a negative spiral to say, why is this happening? Why is that person talking to me like that? Or why is that person not talking to me? Is to say what's the creative
Mm.
aspect here? What's the wisdom? What's the choice? What do I get to do?
What's the blessings out of this? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the appreciation here? Without going, what's the bigger picture? Because sometimes there ain't no bigger picture. That's going to a why question again.
Mhm.
But what are the gifts that have come out of this?
But that
What?
helps you go back into gratitude too, to
Totally.
say what did I get out of this? Oh,
Yeah.
look at this,
Yeah.
right?
It's it's these techniques we're giving you are not as challenging as what we think, people.
Hmm.
Just know we're not
Hmm.
it's not as challenging as what we think. The next one I have written down here is the data collection.
Hmm.
Just getting a little bit of data, getting some evidence to show that I can do this. And this is where Moira was laughing because when someone says you can't do this, I am the same when someone says you won't be able to do this. It's literally a
Like, yep, I'll
oh,
show you.
comes the voice of God. Comes through me. Yeah, that's it. The animated God, I'm just gonna say, by the way. But yeah, no, that's it. I'll show you. Only if it really goes in alignment. But get some evidence that you can do it, and it just allows you to go, you know what, right, yeah, this is their stuff, not mine.
Mhm, mhm.
I can do this. I know I can. And that will raise your self-worth instantly.
Yeah. So that's a thing. I'm just thinking about a conversation I had with a client recently where he was telling me some terrible thing was going to happen. And I said, where's the evidence or where's the truth of that?
Yeah.
And we unpacked it all and realized that he was telling himself a story that he'd made up.
I love those ones because it is. Where's the evidence? Where's
Yeah.
the evidence? Well,
How
my
do you know
mum
that's
told
the
me.
truth?
And
Yeah.
and your mum told you, but did your mum tell you because it came from someone else and there's like this whole hearsay journey we're on? Might
Hmm.
yeah.
The next one I have here is Deb said, be safe. There are times where we will need to remove ourselves from an environment or a situation. And
Yeah.
you shared that beautiful story of a client of yours
Oh,
getting
far out
up
I
and
laugh.
leaving. That was beautiful. Yeah,
I
just remove
we
yourself from the situation.
I know. I was like, this is amazing. This is perfect. This is
Absolutely. And that can be informed by you using one of my favorite questions is how do I feel about myself here? So how do I
yeah,
feel about myself in this environment or with these people, with these choices, with saying, am I, how do I feel about myself? It's such a
yeah,
beautiful way of informing your best decisions, right?
yeah. I love that. I'd love. It's just a simple one. It's just they're simple. They're
Hmm.
simple techniques. The
Hmm.
next one I've got here is the word advocate, which just you're not alone.
Yeah.
And the advocate, just know that when you're going to get news or you're going into an HR meeting, like they say, bring a friend, phone
Hmm.
a friend because
Yeah.
they're there because you may not hear what they're trying to say to you
Yeah.
because we first part of the conversation, then we're done. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
we can get into situations where we go into shock and then not be able to take in
reason.
more information. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's human nature,
it
people. That's
is.
human
Yeah.
nature. And if you're already on edge going into those meetings, you're clearly only going to hear the first 2 minutes, and you're only going to hear the words that you're fired, or you're waiting on those words, whatever it is. You
Right.
can't do.
Here's the results.
Yeah, here's the data from us to you. But Moira and I've been doing this for many, 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 many,
A
many
long
years.
time. A
A
long
long,
time.
long, long time. So you are not alone. We have strength in what we deliver. We hold that space and energy and we get you the results that make you feel loved during the process.
Hmm.
Would
Yeah.
be would sum that up. So we are here for you. You are not alone. Get an advocate. If you get a friend or family member, they're also attached to that outcome. They've got their own stories. Um, so if you're going to share it with your partner about what's going on at work, just know your partner's now going to have angst about going to the next work do, the next thing, because they're annoyed about that man who did something to his wife or that woman who did something to the like they've got their own stuff, whereas Moira and I are neutral. We
Yep.
are neutral to what goes on.
Yeah.
Don't say
So
we
it's
have
always,
as I say that, we do have feelings, but
of course.
as soon as we're neutral, it's like, no, I don't want to think that we're not
But
nice.
we're not going to come with an agenda or take something personally that you're going through, right?
No. It's you. What's for you, yeah.
Yeah. The last one I have is to always remember you have a choice. You always have a choice. And so if you're in a bullying type of situation, you get to choose because I believe we educate others how to treat us. Now, this isn't this it's very important to realize that these techniques are more about the adulting that we're all doing as
Mm,
opposed to the children because we've both got stories of being bullied in school and as children do need protection. They need protection of the parents and of the teachers and of the peer group. But as an adult, I have a choice, meaning if I start having somebody else, running roughshod over my tender heart or what's right for me, my choice is I'm not going to be here, not playing.
yeah.
and just really owning that. So is that because I never want to find myself in a, oh, I have to do this or I should do this. Those are alarm bells to say, what do I get to do? What do I choose to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If even, when we go back to this, even if you ask yourself, is this good for me? If you're asking yourself, the answer's no.
It's very
People.
true.
No,
Very
because
true.
you're actually having asked yourself, you're like, do I need to check in with this? If you already have, I need to check in, yeah, the answer's already no. Just so you know, here's a little heads up.
Yep.
Because otherwise you're not even thinking about it. You just flow forward and away you go.
Yeah. So find your best flow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. Give yourself that permission. And Moira said a few words before, and it is to end this off, the techniques to navigate bullying. You are the boss of you.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Say it with you standing up with your feet apart and hands on your hips. And say it like even with your cape billowing behind you. I'm the boss of me.
Yeah, there is. You just feel so you can't say it and it feel false.
Yeah.
It's just ripples through you, not rips through you. Yeah.
Flows through you.
Yeah, that's the one. Flows through you. With the techniques to navigate bullying, I trust that everybody got some valuable tips and techniques today. There's some great ones in here that I'm going to go back and I'm just going to pull out some social media posts because there's some real golden nuggets. There's absolutely some golden nuggets in here. So I just want to question everybody and just go, are you content with where you are in life right now? Or are you playing the game of life to the fullest?
Good question. And let us know.
And let us know. So the next step is, after listening today, what is the one technique you're going to take from this and you're going to implement just today, just for today? Well, the next step is let us know what's that tip you're going to take from today and implement. Because we want to make sure that you can implement it to achieve your goal and play the life you live.
Yeah, so that you can embody your own best self.
That's right. That's right. So that is us signing off on our deliciously motivated mindset conversation. Thank you, everybody, to listening to Moira and I on our techniques to navigate bullying. As again, I trust that you got some golden nuggets in there, and the next step is let us know what tip you're going to take to allow you to live life to the fullest.
I love it.
So thank you, Internet. Woohoo!
Yes, definitely.
And thank you, Moira, and thank you, listeners. And you will hear us again on our next inspiring
conversation.
Conversation. Yeah, that's it. Our next call. Yeah. Thanks,
Awesome,
Moira.
awesome. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, dear listeners. Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.